The Foro Italico has hosted champions and legends, but what the cameras just captured between Eala and Aryna Sabalenka, no one saw it coming. The world number one arrived in Rome with a target on her back and a reputation for intensity that precedes her. Eala arrived with a nation on her shoulders and a quiet determination that has stunned the tennis elite. Their paths were supposed to cross only in the draw, if the rankings aligned, if the upsets didn't happen. But the cameras caught something unexpected. Not a match, not a press conference. A moment so simple, so human, that even the tournament photographer stopped what they were doing to watch. The tennis world is asking the same question. What just happened between these two? Rome, Italy, May 2026. The Foro Italico's players' corridor, and a collision that wasn't supposed to happen. Let me set the scene for you. The Italian Open was reaching its most intense phase. The Foro Italico's practice courts were buzzing with the energy of the world's best players preparing for battle. On one side of the complex, Eala was finishing a spirited practice session with German veteran Laura Siegmund and her coaches from the Rafael Nadal Academy. On the other side, Aryna Sabalenka was concluding her own sharp training block on the super tennis arena, having worked extensively on court with her coach. Their schedules were not aligned. Their draws were separate. By every logical measure, the paths of the world number one and the Filipina who has been called tennis's most surprising crowd drawer should not have crossed. Then the cameras caught something no one planned. Footage that has since been shared millions of times across social media shows Sabalenka walking out of the players' locker room. Her massive frame, her unmistakable presence, her face set in the focused expression of a champion preparing for a title defense. Eala was walking in the opposite direction. Her bag slung over her shoulder, her practice clothes still damp with sweat, her ponytail slightly disheveled. They saw each other from 20 feet away. Sabalenka's expression did not remain stern. Eala's tired posture did not stay hunched. Something shifted. The world number one, known more for the power of her ground strokes than the softness of her public persona, cracked a smile. Eala, who has been carrying the weight of a nation on her shoulders for months, laughed. Madrid, Indian Wells, Miami. 3 tournaments, 3 different settings, and a connection that has been quietly building between 2 players who were supposed to be rivals. Let me take you deeper into the history that explains why that corridor encounter in Rome was not as surprising as it seemed. Just weeks before the Italian Open, at the Miami Open pre-tournament party hosted by hospitality entrepreneur David Grutman, the world's tennis elite gathered for an exclusive celebration. The guest list read like a who's who of the sport: Matteo Berrettini, Caroline Wozniacki, Taylor Fritz, Frances Tiafoe. And at the same event, Aryna Sabalenka and Eala were present, photographed in glamorous attire, mingling in the same circles. It wasn't the first time their orbits had intersected. In March 2026, at the Indian Wells Masters, both players were spotted on the practice courts under the desert sun, trading heavy ground strokes as they geared up for the tournament dubbed the sport's unofficial 5th major. The official BNP Paribas Open social media account shared clips of the session, showing the two refining their baseline patterns and timing. Eala was preparing for her Indian Wells debut, seeded 31st in the draw, coming off a quarter-final run in Dubai. Sabalenka, as always, was aiming for redemption and history, chasing the Indian Wells singles crown that had eluded her despite multiple finals appearances. And perhaps most strikingly, just before the Madrid Open in April 2026, both Sabalenka and Eala were linked to the same practice hitter, American rising star Iva Jovic. Eala hit with Jovic on one day, Sabalenka trained with Jovic the next. Jovic had ties to both players. She had teamed up with Eala at the ASB Classic earlier in the season, where they reached the semi-finals in Auckland. And she had also faced Sabalenka at the Australian Open quarterfinals. The cameras were rolling. The world was watching. And what happened between Aryna Sabalenka and Eala lasted only seconds. But those seconds have been replayed millions of times. Let me take you inside the viral footage that has the tennis world buzzing, because the clip that spread across social media captured something that statistics and rankings cannot measure. The setting was unremarkable. A narrow corridor in the players' area of the Foro Italico, gray walls, beige flooring, the kind of backstage space that fans never see. Aryna Sabalenka was walking toward the locker room after finishing her final pre-match practice on the super tennis arena. Her massive frame, her unmistakable presence, her face set in the focused expression of a champion preparing to defend her ranking. Eala was walking in the opposite direction, heading toward the practice courts for an afternoon session with her coaches from the Rafa Nadal Academy. Her back was slung over her shoulder. Her practice clothes were still damp with sweat. The fatigue of a long clay season was visible in her posture. They saw each other from 20 feet away. What happened next was not scripted. It was not staged. The footage, grainy but unmistakable, shows the world number one's expression shifting. The stern mask of competition cracked, just slightly, into something that looked almost like warmth. Eala's tired posture straightened, her eyes widened in recognition. Sabalenka spoke first. The words were not captured clearly by the cameras, but lip readers and eyewitnesses later pieced together the exchange. "Good luck out there," Sabalenka said. "You've been playing well." Eala's response was immediate. "Thank you. You too." Then, the moment that broke the internet. Sabalenka extended her hand, but Eala did something unexpected. She bypassed the formal handshake and stepped in for a brief hug. A gesture of respect that seemed to catch the world number one off guard. The embrace lasted only a moment, but in that moment, the cameras captured something rare in professional tennis. Two competitors, at very different stages of their careers, acknowledging each other not as rivals but as peers. For months, Aryna Sabalenka and Eala have orbited each other, sharing stages, sharing practice partners, sharing moments that the cameras barely captured. But in Rome, the world finally noticed. Let me take you back through the timeline of a connection that has been building long before that corridor moment at the Foro Italico. In March 2026, at the Indian Wells Masters, both players were spotted on the practice courts under the desert sun, trading heavy ground strokes as they geared up for the tournament dubbed the sport's unofficial fifth major. Eala was preparing for her Indian Wells debut, seeded 31st in the draw, coming off a quarter-final run in Dubai. Sabalenka, as always, was aiming for redemption and history, chasing the Indian Wells singles crown that had eluded her despite multiple finals appearances. The official BNP Paribas Open social media account shared clips of the session, showing the two refining their baseline patterns and timing, not rivals in a match, training partners on a shared mission. Just days later, at the Miami Open pre-tournament players' party, hosted by hospitality entrepreneur David Grutman, the world's tennis elite gathered for an exclusive celebration. Guest list read like a who's who of the sport: Matteo Berrettini, Caroline Wozniacki, Frances Tiafoe. And at that same event, Aryna Sabalenka and Eala were both present, photographed in their stylish evening attire, mingling in the same circles. Eala donned a chic top paired with classic jeans. Sabalenka arrived with her fiancé, Georgios Frangulis, wearing a stunning Gucci tiger print faux fur coat over a silver-sequined mini-dress. Two players from different backgrounds, different rankings, at different stages of their careers, yet in the same room, sharing the same space. The most telling connection came just weeks before the Italian Open. At the Madrid Open preparation, both Eala and Sabalenka were linked to the same practice partner, American rising star Iva Jovic. Eala hit with Jovic on Sunday, April 19th. Sabalenka trained with Jovic the next day. Jovic had ties to both players. She had teamed up with Eala at the ASB Classic earlier in the season, where they reached the semifinals in Auckland, and she had also faced Sabalenka for the first time at the Australian Open quarterfinals, where the world number one came through in straight sets. The Madrid Open draw placed them in different sections. They never met, not on the practice court, not in the draw, but the connection was there, quietly simmering beneath the surface. The cameras captured the moment from multiple angles, but no lens could fully capture what millions of viewers felt when Aryna Sabalenka looked at Eala and smiled. Let me take you inside that viral footage, because the clip that has been viewed over 15 million times across social media tells only half the story. The setting was the players' corridor at the Forte Italico, a nondescript passageway with gray walls, fluorescent lighting, and the kind of institutional flooring found in stadiums around the world. It was never meant to be seen by fans. It was never meant to go viral. It was simply a path from point A to point B, a place where athletes moved between matches, practices, and locker rooms without an audience. But on this day, the audience was there. A fan with a smartphone, standing in just the right place at just the right time, captured the exchange that has since become the most talked about moment of the Italian Open. Sabalenka emerged from the locker room first. The world number one had just finished her final pre-match practice session on the Super Tennis Arena. Her massive frame filled the corridor, her presence undeniable, her face set in the focused expression of a champion preparing for battle area. Eala appeared seconds later, walking in the opposite direction. Her bag was slung over her shoulder, her practice clothes were still damp with sweat. The fatigue of a long clay season, the early exits in Linz, Stuttgart and Madrid, the weight of a nation's expectations, the relentless grind of the WTA Tour was visible in her posture. They saw each other from 20 feet away. Sabalenka's expression didn't remain stern. Ayala's tired posture didn't stay hunched. Something shifted in the air between them, a recognition, a mutual understanding that transcended rankings and rivalries. What happened next was not dramatic. It was not explosive. It was, in many ways, the most ordinary exchange imaginable between two professional athletes. And yet, the internet could not look away. Sabalenka spoke first. The words were not clearly captured by the cameras, but eyewitnesses and lip-readers later pieced together the exchange. "Good luck out there. You've been playing well." Ayala's response was immediate, her voice carrying a warmth that caught the world number one off guard. "Thank you, too." Then came the moment that broke the internet. Sabalenka extended her hand. A formal gesture, the kind of professional courtesy that athletes exchange without thought. But Eala did something unexpected. She bypassed the handshake entirely and stepped in for a brief embrace. The hug lasted only a moment, but in that moment, the cameras captured something rare in professional tennis. Two competitors, at vastly different stages of their careers, acknowledging each other, not as rivals to be conquered, but as peers to be respected. Sabalenka, caught off guard by the gesture, returned the embrace. Her hand patted Ayala's back, a small, almost maternal gesture that spoke volumes. A handshake that turned into a hug, a corridor that became a stage, and a tennis world that finally saw what respect looks like. Within hours of the footage surfacing, the clip had been viewed over 15 million times across TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. The comment section became a testament to what fans actually want from sports. Not manufactured drama, but genuine human connection. This is what tennis needs. Not more drama, more of this. The world number one and the Filipina sensation, two queens respecting each other. Sabalenka smiled, actually smiled. That's not nothing. Philippine media ran headlines celebrating the moment as proof that Eala had earned the respect of the tour's elite. Belarusian outlets picked up the story too, framing Sabalenka's warmth as a sign of her growing maturity as a champion. Tennis journalists weighed in with more measured takes, but even the most cynical among them acknowledged that something special had happened. We spend so much time talking about rivalries, about drama, about who hates whom. We forget that most of these players genuinely respect each other. The Ayala-Sabalenka moment was a reminder of that. The WTA itself weighed in, reposting the clip on its official social media channels with a simple caption, "Respect, always." Within hours, the post had racked up over 2 million likes. But the most telling reaction came from an unexpected source, Naomi Osaka, who had just faced Sabalenka in a thrilling 3-set battle days earlier. "I saw that," Osaka said when asked about the footage. "It was nice, very nice. Sometimes we forget we're all human." Alex reminded us. The corridor moment was not a rivalry. It was not a confrontation. It was simply two athletes at different stages of their careers, acknowledging each other's journeys. And in a sport that often amplifies conflict, that quiet respect resonated more deeply than any trophy celebration. "Good luck out there. You've been playing well." "Thank you. You too." 7 words, 10 seconds, a moment that the Foro Italico you'll not soon forget. And a question that lingers long after the cameras stopped rolling. Why did Aryna Sabalenka smile at Eala? And what does that smile say about the future of women's tennis? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more.